Thank you very much for this opportunity. And as the last speaker, I have the advantage that most of what I had to say has already been said by people here. And I think there is no doubt that Bihar has done wonders in the last few years, and a lot has been talked about it. So, as my spiritual guru used to say, that let the good things look after themselves. Let's worry about what we need to do next. So, whilst at MART we had done a small study on the rural consumers of Bihar, but since we are at the fag end of this evening, I'm not going to go into all that. What I want to do is to just take 2 minutes to make a few observations based on my 40 years of work in rural development and rural marketing. The minister talked about limited resources. That's much more true of Bihar, but it's also true of other states. Some years back, we had done a study for the World Bank in 1100 villages of UP, and it was very interesting. We asked the villagers that if you had one wish, what would you want the Sarkar to do for you? And without exception, in all the 1100 villages, we got the same answer, sadak chahiye. Right? And then, when I was doing a study of the rural hearts, the village markets of India, this was a study I did for the government of India, I found in the chronicles of the British Raj, a collector who on his horseback went to a rural area and came back and wrote a 2-line report which said, give a road to this village. Because what these villagers explained to us is, agar sadak aa jayegi, to our village gets connected with the rest of humanity, with the rest of the world. Sadak aa jayegi, to bijli ka khamba aa jayega. Bijli ka khamba aa jayega, to school ka blackboard aa jayega. To sab kuch aa jayega. So I think, the one thought that I want to leave behind for the government is, with limited resources, you obviously have to strategize, you have to plan. So I think roads is something that really is going to make a difference. And I can tell you at the All India level where we work, the one factor that has contributed to the growth of the rural markets, and today the rural market of India is much bigger than the urban market of India, is largely because of the roads. Right? The road network. Today, 70% of our villages in the country are connected by all-weather road. Right? So that is what has accounted for the growth. That is one. The second is, at the country level, we have about 640,000 villages and we have about 8,000 towns. So for every 100 villages, there is a town. So we've got a model of development which is a hub and spoke model. Okay? And very few people know that the big cities, the 50 big cities which we all talk about as the cities reserved for FDI and retail, account for only 25% of India's GDP. Okay? Rural India accounts for another 50% of India's GDP. But the middle piece, which is these 8,000 small towns, also account for 25% of India's GDP. So all the big companies are focused only on the top 50 cities because they feel that that's where all the purchasing power is concentrated. But the reality is there is as much purchasing power in these 7,000 to 8,000 towns. Therefore, my next thought which I want to leave behind is that please look at developing the next level towns, because the big cities like Patna and all will have limited scope for further development. But it is really the small towns which have the opportunity. That is point number 2. The third is education, yes. Today, when we did the study in rural Bihar in March this year, the number one priority that came from all the villagers was education, and more importantly, which was very heartening, education for the girls. And they said कि अगर लड़कियों को graduate नहीं बनाएंगे तो हमारी लड़कियों की शादी नहीं हो पाएगी. So, which was a very encouraging sign in Bihar. But education is not going to lead to employment. Employment will happen when we do a lot of skills development, because all our graduates coming out of these places like Shashi, you talked about more graduates in Bihar than Kerala. Sure, there are more graduates in rural India than urban India, no doubt. But there is no employability. The employability will really come from skills development. So we have to invest a lot of money, time, effort, putting up institutions for for skills development. The other thing that we saw, which is very heartening, is there is a total transformation in the thinking of young people. And as I say, if you can change people's thinking, then the state and the country will change by itself. Just to give you an example, when we were doing this survey, and we met some old people in the villages in different parts of Bihar. This is in Samastipur that we did this study. The old people would not sit on the same cart with us because, out of a sense of respect but the young people, especially school-going children, would look at the best and newest chair and go and sit on that. So that shows the confidence of the young children of Bihar, which is a very heartening fact because they are the future of the state. So what you have brought about is not a change in GDP. I have all those numbers, we all know those numbers. But I think the single biggest change that you have brought about is a change in people's thinking. And as we all know, that action follows thinking. So if your thoughts change, you can change, the state. The one thought that I want to leave behind is on agriculture. Whilst Bihar has shown a very impressive growth of, 6 to 7% in agricultural GDP growth compared to the national average of only 2 or 3%. But the fact is that more and more people are opting out of agriculture because there are far too many people employed in agriculture. If you look at the country level, we have 250 million out of our 500 million workforce in agriculture, which is 50%. And that 50% contributes only 15% to the country's GDP. So the poorest people in this country are the farmers, and they're all opting out of agriculture. So at the national level, we need to redeploy 100 million people out of agriculture into other areas. In Bihar, the story would be similar. I don't have those figures. So unless we really focus on skills development, which is not only for the new generation which is coming, but also for the people we'll have to pull out of agriculture and redeploy in other areas. And it's not going to be through the organized industry, because organized industry in the last 10 years has not added a single job in this country. All the jobs have been added by the small scale sector or by self-employment. So really, the focus will have to be on the small scale sector. Thank you.